Okay, so I'm dispensing with all previous known protocols that I've applied to making videos as far as subject matter and how I'm tackling it, who I'm reaching out to, what audience I'm reaching out to. I'm hoping people will watch this that maybe don't normally watch my videos. And if you are, thank you. Please like and subscribe. And I may do more than one of these. It just depends. This is totally off the cuff, but I feel like, the time is now, as a wise person once said, uh, and the sense of urgency within me regarding these kind of topics I'm about to touch upon is just it's rising every day, and it's rising in the atmosphere around us. It's rising online in certain communities. The people I the people that I help at my retail job, they're feeling this pain, this disenchantment, this whole system. It doesn't serve any of us. We're enslaved by these maniacs who are running this thing. And I've talked about this in a few videos as asides. I've even done a few on truth and freedom. They're just kind of, I guess, disregarded by most people as rants. I've had a few people who told me I was on the right track and even brilliant about certain things, and I really appreciate that. If you're watching, you know who you are. You're great friends and allies. Um, I want to kind of expand the scope, at least for the time being, of what I'm doing with the channel. So I've decided that just as I will come on here after watching a movie or reacting to some news and go on a tangent about it or try to give my hot takes, as they say, about things like that. I want to do a first impressions and reactions, feedback, my feedback to uh, the event that happened today. So I'll probably mention it in the title of the video. I'm definitely going to put it on the thumbnail. So briefly, two political parties that are like third parties. They aren't part of the large monolithic duopoly of Democrats and Republicans. The Movement for People's Party, which is kind of a recent independent development that's kind of hasn't gained much momentum. Some notable people have endorsed it and joined it, but they haven't got a serious candidate put out yet for office. But the guy who runs it, Nick Brana, who came up with it, he joined with one of the leaders of the Libertarian Party. And the two of them created this event. And this event transpired today in Washington, D.C. I have not yet seen the conclusion of the event, because it was there are several speakers and some musical interludes. And then there was a planned march up to the White House. So I don't know what transpired in that latter part yet. So another reason I'll probably make more this video about it. What I did do is, from the time I woke up today around noonish, and I prepared for work. I didn't have to work till like 4 o'clock. The whole time I had a live feed going on YouTube on the channel belonging to Sabrina Salvati, aka Sabby Sabs. I really want to put her name out here. She's been very kind to me, at least within the chats on her videos and her channel, and I have supported her. I've given her, super chats, more than I would normally give because I wanted to support her. She's very accessible. She's very friendly. She's extremely intelligent. She's a powerful anti-establishment voice. She is a powerful Black woman who is talking in this independent leftist media space online where there aren't any powerful Black women, though that's gradually changing. and she is one of the most, if not the most notable rising person that apply these descriptors apply to. I feel as though she has a balance of calm and logic and uh, preparedness, and she has a very measured approach to the topics that she covers. She gets her facts right inside out, but she's also very passionate and fiery. She knows when someone's crossed the line into an area where, you know, uh, they've done something that is, morally violating her values and principles as a leftist slash socialist. I don't know how she describes herself on the daily, but she's part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. I have followed these guys almost since their inception. I heard about them via the Jimmy Dore show, which I'm a huge fan of. I've also recently become a moderator on the public group Jimmy Dore fans. That is, Jimmy's aware of it. He endorses it, but he doesn't participate at all on Facebook or anything. But anyway, I just over time from my posts and my passion and trying to share information with the people involved and becoming friends with the moderators, I finally became a moderator. I just asked, would it be possible to help out? So I have, and I don't take that lightly, being 2 degrees from Jimmy Dore, because uh, I follow him, very closely and very. He's a kindred spirit to me in a lot of ways. I think I don't know if we met, in real life or like at one of his comedy shows or whatever, or backstage. I don't know if that spark would ignite between us, but from the things he says about his background, his upbringing, his values, his problems and struggles, and what he's trying to accomplish in the world, and the deep views he has, I think he has a total kindred spirit, and that's what I feel about a lot of the people who occupy the independent leftist media space on YouTube, which also crosses over into other platforms like Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey. If you follow these people on YouTube, I suggest you follow them on all those platforms, because those platforms are more permissive as far as free speech. YouTube is they're brutal with their algorithms. I mean, the only reason I can say the shit I say is because no one knows I exist. I don't have that many subscribers. Someone like Jimmy Dore has over 1 million subscribers. He's a big target. Russell Brand, he's got 7 million, and he has more name recognition from his brief days as an actor comedian, and they're big targets. Of course, a huge target is someone like Joe Rogan, who's not really a part of that community like the people I've mentioned. Russell Brand has kind of fallen into it, and he's welcome. He's done so much good for us, and I feel a part of that community via the chats that I engage in on the videos that are posted by Savvy Savs, by Revolutionary Blackout Network, by Jimmy Dore, by Russell Brand, by some other channels I'll just mention real quick, and then later go into Convo Couch is a key one. Hardlands Media is one of my very favorites. Kit Cabello is another person I feel as a kindred spirit. His passion and candor, the truth that these people convey is so refreshing compared to the mainstream media. I despise all of the mainstream media, the owned corporate media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox. They can all go to hell. They're really leading the culture and the populace of America down a cliff, over a fucking cliff, into oblivion. And nothing they say is true. Nothing they say has any kind of real context. And yet they're the kind of people who censor people like Jimmy Dore and say his posts lack context. Fact checkers, professional fact checkers have found blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, professional liars employed by, people like these mainstream media stations and YouTube channels. And, if you follow the trail, the money trail, the friendship trail. Ultimately it leads pretty much into the CIA and the FBI and these intelligence circles that have completely infiltrated social media and mainstream media. Mainstream media, I mean, CNN has like commentators and advisors who were like CIA spooks and black ops people. And wow, you're supposed to guard these people as some kind of moral authority on anything that's happening in our country and our world when they got blood on their hands. Uh, I eschew all of it. I'm not off the grid. I'm just enough on the grid to know what's happening. And just because I have no life, so in between my day job and my eBay and my creative pursuits that you guys know about, like Clicker Street and this channel, the rest of my time is engaged in uh, following this community, this scene, this movement. The movement, if you want to call it that, began with Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential run. I could talk on a whole different, I could talk on a 5-hour video about Bernie, but I don't follow Bernie anymore. I don't respect Bernie anymore. I really despise what he has become. Some say he always was. In my mind, the jury's not out yet, but important thing is he did change the world. He changed the conversation across America and across the world. He, in my opinion, and a lot of my friends who are very pessimistic, even more than me, and even more cynical than me, Bernie would have never won. He would have never beaten Trump. Maybe I'm just a hopeless idealist. I believe he would have won. The world wanted Bernie to be president in 2016. They didn't want Hillary Clinton. They wanted Trump because he wasn't Hillary Clinton. So, but Bernie coalesced a lot of people. He ignited the passion in a lot of people's hearts. When he first spoke in Charlotte, North Carolina, here where I live, on his campaign trail in 2015, it was like late 2015, maybe early 2016, and I was not able to go, but I watched it live on YouTube, and I cried. It was the same way I felt when Obama used to speak, but it was more profound. It was life changing, and I know a lot of people, dozens and hundreds and thousands of people across America, and probably people in other I know of other people in other countries too, who have picked up the gauntlet that Bernie dropped. And when I say dropped, he didn't just hurl the gauntlet and say, let's get it going. He did that, and then he hurled the gauntlet and dropped it, and then walked away and turned his back on all of us in 2020. He quit his own movement. The most powerful populist grassroots movement in decades was growing in America. And, a leftist progressive movement. And when I say progressive, I don't mean these Democrats in Congress like AOC. I'm talking about true progressive visions like progress. Our world is, we are regressing in every fucking way. Our country is crumbling around us. In any case, the movement is kind of rudderless and leaderless now, but there is some more cohesion than a lot of people think. There's a lot of pessimism, there's a lot of infighting, but a lot of the things that are considered infighting are not really infighting, because the people that we're supposedly infighting with are people who really aren't on our side anyway. They may be Democrats, they may be liberals, they may give lip service to social programs that they want claim to support, like Medicare for all and a living wage and legalizing cannabis and federal job guarantees, into warfare and regime change wars, though they really seem to support those now. The liberal left, the Democrat left, it's a wasteland. It's a wasteland of liars and thieves and grifters. So they call people I support grifters. They're making a lot more money off this kind of shit. People like Sam Cedar, Chink Uger, Anna Kasparian, uh, what's his face, Jordan Chariton. I hated to lump him in there, but he eventually succumbed. Kyle Kalinske eventually succumbed to that. Crystal Ball, people I used to follow, they've all become part of that mushy kind of centrist, you know, their talk is cheap, man. They don't take action. They don't believe in direct action. They don't relate to real working people. Most of them are rich. The people I just named, not all of them, but most of them are very wealthy. Um, so there's no infighting because I'm not a part of all that, and the people I follow and support and admire and respect are not part of that. And what's amazing is now there are people who are kind of in the mainstream or were in the mainstream that have been cast out because of their what they considered radical views about these kind of topics. And they're becoming part of this community. So now you can go to the channels that I watch and have watched every day for several years. And these people that some of whom I know personally, not in person. I don't think I've met any of them in person yet. But mano a mano, communication wise. And they're talking to Roger Waters. They're talking. Of course, they were talking to Tulsi Gabbard because a lot of them supported her in the 2020 election, as did I. And I was let down and hurt by her. But Dennis Kucinich, Ron Paul, these are big, big names. These are people who have tried to change things in their own ways to varying degrees of sincerity, varying degrees of success, and they are pariahs. So what happened is these two parties that put this rally together today in Washington, Rage Against the War Machine, they brought all these people together. Everyone I just named that is on the right side of things, in my opinion, the correct side of things, the right side of history, the correct side of things. Really, they're on the left side of things. People who are furthering socialist values and left-wing values and progressive values, trying to save this fucking world. And that's all that we're doing, man. And it resonates with me. I feel like it's home, and most of my very close friends are fairly apolitical. I mean, they're leftists in their values, but they're not involved with this kind of stuff. And some of them have been, some of them follow it periodically, some of them support it, in theory. But out of all of us, I'm the only one that is communicating and becoming part of that community on a regular, daily basis. And I'm glad. It does feel like home. I wish I could have gone to this rally today. So the turnout was expected to be huge, like the biggest anti-war rally in years. But it was estimated only 3,000 people actually attended. And people who were at the front lines listening to the speakers who got the good views and were able to also, do feeds on it and record it and film it. Those people, there were around 300. And most of the notable people from the channels that I've mentioned were either there in that capacity or they were in an official speaker capacity. And the lineup was mind-boggling. And the things that were said were mind-boggling. They're things that I've wanted my whole life for a mass amount of Americans to say. And it makes you feel like you're not alone anymore. You're not crazy. This is what the internet has done that's good for all of us, really, especially for the kind of community I'm talking about, the kind of movement that is building. It's got problems. It's sputtering along. It takes 2 steps forward and a step back. It shoots itself in the foot, but a lot of times it hits the right targets, the deserving targets. And it is growing, and the internet has made this possible. And the people in power are freaking out. their methods of dealing with it are several. They either censor you, restrict your speech. Now they can do it all electronically with algorithms on social media, or the mainstream media ignores you and it pretends like you don't exist. Much like Bernie Sanders' campaign was blacked out by the mainstream media in 2016. With very few appearances. But Trump was given billions of dollars of free airtime because he was news, he was salacious and gossipy and dirty. And they're still trying to run on the fumes of that, explosion of publicity they got from him, the wave they rode, and then the wave they continue to ride, opposing him and being the resistance. Yeah, I can't imagine Hillary Clinton out there, with an AK-47 and a beret, speaking in French, quoting some kind of communist manifesto. I don't see her, but she would get on whatever platform would let her squawk and say, "I'm part of the resistance." It's like, yeah, you've resisted healthcare for people, you've resisted peace for countries all over the world, you've resisted freedom from censorship. You've resisted any kind of program that would get humanity out of where it is now. You've resisted the poor, the blacks, minorities, gays, women, people you ostensibly wanted to be their allies because you wanted their votes, and you didn't receive them like you thought you would. And people like, she's scum, by the way. Let's just get that out of the way. I've probably said it here before. Hillary Clinton is just scum. I'm tired of mincing words. I'm tired of people being afraid. It's getting to that point where it's like what I heard about the 60s. People are afraid of speaking. What I heard about communist countries, what I heard about. And we got near it at times during the Iraq War, during the Bush administration. There was a fear in the media, the news media, entertainment industry, people who are personalities, celebrities, and social media, which was growing then, had become what it is now. But there was this fear, and people really did not want to speak out against Bush. Now the fear is reached an insane level. It's not just like a fear, and like, oh, you chastise someone who dares speak against that Iraq War, Bush. It's like simmering and festering. Like, you dare not criticize Joe Biden. You dare not criticize AOC or Democrats on any level for anything they do. They're breaking strikes for rail workers that were screwed over by this Norfolk company, which was responsible for this dump in East Palestine, Ohio, which is going to end up killing thousands of people. They basically poisoned an entire city. They've sacrificed it for profit. It's insane. It's insane, and the mainstream media won't talk about it. Just like they won't talk about Flint, Michigan. They won't talk about all these ongoing horrible problems all over the country. Bad water, crumbling infrastructure, cops killing people right and left. This is madness, man. This is war. I mean, my story has always been headed toward a post-apocalyptic revolution, world-changing, world's, turned on its ear kind of scenario. For 25, 30 years, I've been building toward that in Flicker Street. And now reality has surpassed, where I'm at in a fictional speculative space. The things that we were warned about, my generation, Generation X, were warned about in all these science fiction movies in the 1970s and 1980s, it's happening. It's here. Nobody listened. We let it happen. We let it happen. It's what Chris Hedges called a slow motion coup, live coup, our country and our government in real time. We're watching it happen. We're doing nothing. I don't know, and people got so angry and enraged and still are about Trump. The same people who said don't put down Hillary Clinton. She's not the president. Trump is. And don't put down Obama. He's no longer in office. And yet they're daily, all they can do is put down Trump. No, no, no. Focus on the man in office now. He is the most dangerous fucking dude who's ever held that office. He's threatened to eclipse George W. Bush as far as harm to the planet and the human race. Because, he's ready to do the news. He doesn't care. He's got his. He's rich as fuck. People are terrified to speak out against him. He's got the world in his fucking palm, and yet he's senile, he's demented, he's evil, and people still worship this guy. And even people who don't worship him, they're afraid. They're afraid to talk shit about him the way they did about Trump. This is not good, man. Why are we frozen like this? There should be mass protests everywhere, every day. I haven't taken to the streets yet. Nothing's happening much in my town, city. It's really a big town. But I did want to go to that rally. So I don't want to rant and rave for a whole hour. Maybe I'll continue this another time. But I do want to talk for a little bit about the rally itself. If you're still with me, thank you. If you're not, I don't know what to say. But I'm getting to the point, finally. It takes me a while. My regular subscribers, you guys know this about me. So I began this morning, and I'm going to try to mention the speakers in the order that they spoke. I may get some wrong. I may miss some people or get some things mixed up. So like I said, this is first impression. This is the hot take on Rage Against the War Machine. An important event that I guess failed in many ways. But I hope the people online who watched it and who will watch it, I hope you're inspired. I hope you're fired up. I hope this energy spreads. Because this is the first time there's been such a galvanized effort. Even though it was not as many people as a Bernie rally, like 25,000, 30,000 people. So, that could have been harnessed into something. But instead, that energy was redirected into the fucking Democratic Party. As Jimmy Dore always says, a pro-war, pro-censorship, anti-worker party. It's disgusting. Kshama Sawant, the only public official, elected politician that I currently in office, that she's about to leave office, that I respect at all in America, that I can think of. She's a socialist party. Kshama Sawant says, the Democratic Party, the road on the Democratic Party, that it takes when you join it, or you depend on it, or that is your hope, your salvation. It leads to a graveyard. She's very often quoted of saying this, and it's true. She's a very fiery Indian American woman, a brilliant woman, and she's quitting public office in Seattle. She spearheaded the $15 an hour minimum wage, the first city in America that did it. It was largely because of her. She's widely hated by people in every political party, but she is a truth teller. She is fearless. And the people who are like that, they mean a lot to me, because I pretty much will tell things as they are, say things, tell it like it is. I just got off work. My brain is kind of fizzled. So let me talk about the speakers real quick. I wish Kshama Sawant had been there. Chris Hedges, I heard the second half of his speech. So Chris Hedges is a guy who grew up in the clerical world. As far as I know, he's still a Christian, but he is a far leftist, radical thinker, writer, commentator. He's like 65 years old. He was a reporter for years and years. He worked for the New York Times. He has been on the front lines of war-torn countries in every major skirmish since the 80s. He was there when the Berlin Wall fell. He was there during both Iraq wars, Afghanistan, like in Natural Born Killers, Robert Downey Jr. plays Wayne Gale, and he interviews the serial killer Mickey Knox, played by Woody Harrelson. And he starts getting really fired up. And he's like, I was there. I was on the front lines. I saw it all go down in Grenada. And then his like assistant, who's a deaf mute woman, by the way, she's like, cut it. And he peels back. He's like, anyway, a very great and prophetic film that I do plan to review eventually on here. Finally got the Blu-ray for Christmas. So, but it is like that. Chris Hedges really was there. He was there. He saw it all go down, man. He's very pessimistic. He's pretty much like all of his speeches and his books and his essays and shit, and his talks on Real News Network, which is kind of his main venue now, or his essays he has published on Substack. He's like, yeah, it's hopeless, but he has prescriptions to change things, and he talked about that today. What needs to be done, and basically a lot of it is what a lot of the speakers, or more passionate speakers, brought across today was that we need to put our differences behind us. We may need to ally with people that are not in our tribe. I don't belong to any of these political tribes, except this one, I guess you could say. A leftist/socialist, nonpartisan community, and I follow that media because it tells the truth and it does the work. And these rich corporate whores and these fucking skyscrapers, making these obscene salaries, they're completely out of touch with humanity. Rachel Maddow, she makes what, $30,000 a day to spread propaganda endlessly, warmongering, constantly lying. Fuck those people. So Hedges had a very cogent point. That was, we need to build a coalition of disenfranchised Democrats and Republicans and libertarians and socialists, communists, Trump voters, maybe. Oh, sorry, leftists, right-wing populists, in addition to left-wing populists, on issues that affect all of our lives. And of course, the key ones are things like universal health care. America is the only civilized, industrialized country of note on the planet that doesn't have universal health care. We were the only country on earth that didn't take care of our people during a global pandemic. Our Congress refused to put a floor vote during a global pandemic for universal health care. It was a state of emergency. Biden could have issued an executive order and given everyone universal health care. And because of him and people like him and spineless politicians and sellouts like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, all that side of the fence too, a lot of more people died than needed to during the pandemic. And again, their blood is all over these people's hands. These people are bathed in blood. They're like fucking Elizabeth Bathory. Bathory or Bathory, as some people pronounce it. She bathed in virgin's blood to remain eternally young, and many people have called her a vampire, and she's been, memorialized in films that way, and I've reviewed a few on this channel. But that's what these people are, man. They're drenched in the blood of these people that have died in these wars, or because of inadequate health care, inadequate housing. Homelessness is rampant in America. It's out of control, and we're sending all our money to the Ukraine. I have to tell customers in my store why our shelves are bare. And when I can get away with it, I'll joke with the ones that seem to be simpatico, and I'll say, well, we don't have the groceries. We send them all to the Ukraine. And they laugh because they know. People are getting it. They're starting to wake up. So we need to reach out to those kind of people, pull them in, and get a consensus on something like universal health care. But right now, the real big pressing one, and that's what this rally was about today, was anti-war. Stop this war. Stop this proxy war in the Ukraine with Russia that is going to lead us in a nuclear annihilation. I mean, America has to be the most complacent country in history to have a president that on live, speaking, speaking live to America, says that we may have nuclear Armageddon. And he doesn't say we've got to stop it. He just says it may happen. It's like he's threatening us. And nobody batted a fucking eyelash. I mean, people like me in the community I'm talking about did. But people who are more awake and understand what's going on. But too many people are just like zombies. Democrats are like, yeah, Biden. It's disgusting. The blind partisanship, the tribalism, it's leading right into fascism. All the things they said were going to happen under Trump now are happening. They're here under Biden. They're here, baby. You don't know when your channel is going to be pulled and your freedom of speech is going to be taken away. You don't know when you're going to be deplatformed. It could happen at any second. You don't know when you're going to lose your house or the cops are going to blow you away. You don't know when any of this is going to happen. This is what we live under. This is the fear. This is the real fear. Charles Manson said something one time about get the fear, put the fear in people. And yeah, we're getting the fear, man. I mean, and it ain't some scraggly, murderous, quasi hippie redneck, died in prison. It's fucking powerful people, the real powerful people. They don't fuck around. They don't do helter skelter with, 7 or 8 people in 2 nights in Hollywood Hills. They're blowing away black and brown people all over the fucking planet every day, constantly, every minute. And they're slowly killing all of us. That we're dying off. Homelessness and COVID and hard working, slaving under 3 jobs to survive. Yeah, I mean, we're being ground into the fucking dirt. We're nothing to these people, and now they think nuclear Armageddon. No, well, we got ours, man. Some people might have a plan. Maybe they're going to go to Mars. I don't know. Maybe Bill Gates and Elon Musk are going to ride a rocket. Maybe Kamala Harris and Joe Biden think they're going to trail along. Maybe they've got an underground bunker. Who knows? I'm just throwing shit out there. I'm not stating it's fact, but they don't care. That's my point, is they don't give a fuck. And one thing that was powerful to me about this rally is these people in Washington, D.C., a couple miles from the White House, right at the Capitol, they fearlessly defied Joe Biden, called him out by name, one after the other. So after Chris Hedges spoke, Kim Iverson, who's a prominent independent media personality, I would say generally she's leftist, not totally. She's definitely a radical. She's had some radical views that have made a lot of people hate her. But she's a hardworking, brilliant, erudite, articulate, and I will say gorgeous Asian American woman who, I'm not saying that should matter. I'm just saying, anyone who knows me knows that I will appreciate a woman who's beautiful. And it's not just how they look. I mean, it's their spirit, I don't follow Kim as closely as a lot of people do, nor do I dismiss her like a lot of people do for some of her views. But she had the guts to go against the grain during COVID and the general narrative, the approved narrative. And she risked a lot, and she ended up walking away from her job on the Hill, with the Hill. They're smaller corporate media who mainly use the internet as their outlet, and they have a prominent news show called Rising, which is generally from a leftist liberal Democrat point of view, but then they will have a counterpoint kind of character or person on there to rebut. And a lot of people that I have ended up following or listening to or learning about have passed through those ranks and ended up falling out. And one of their commentators, Brianna Joy Gray now, who was the press secretary for Bernie Sanders' 2020 electoral bid for president, she's now the center left, the main leftist commentator there. She has, it was Crystal Ball, and then it was Kim Iverson, and then intermittently Katie Halper would show up. And all of them ended up walking away or being driven out because they were too left wing for this. Now, Crystal Ball has kind of ended up replicating The Hill Rising with their show Breaking Points, which I really liked it for. And I liked her right wing rebuttal guy, Sagar and Jetty. Everyone hates him. He's pretty hateable, but I always have had a soft spot for him, and I valued that, hearing that perspective. But they're just going more and more corporate, bootlicking. They're trying to promote. All these people are trying to uplift this faux left, this quasi left, this synthetic left, liberal, circle jerk is trying to elevate Marianne Williamson to being a serious challenger from the left, allegedly against Joe Biden. And it's disgusting. But anyway, Kim Iverson spoke, and another point of their demands, people who put on this rally, was free Julian Assange, a guy who's being slowly tortured to death by the U.S. for committing the crime of journalism. He revealed the corruption of the military-industrial complex and all of our politicians and political parties, and so they deemed him dangerous. He had to be stopped. So, they need to free him. He's dying. He's been under guard for 6 years now, a few years in Ecuador, and then now 2 or 3 years. I think he's in Britain now, and they're trying to extradite him to the U.S., even though he's a Australian citizen. Trump tried to have him killed. Hillary tried to have him killed. Now Biden and company want to have him killed. And free Julian Assange is a movement within a movement. This movement. It's an important point because what they're doing to him sets a deadly precedent that freedom of speech will be punished by death. This is some fucking Orwell, Huxley shit, man. It's here. It's here, and we are living it. And people don't want to believe it. And it's sad because I don't want to preach to people. I don't want to try to force them to believe it. I just want people to wake up and listen to facts and understand the world they live in. And then they can make their own decisions based on that, but don't shut it out. So after Kim Iverson spoke, there were several other people. Let me think. Dr. Jill Stein, who was a presidential candidate for the Green Party in 2016, spoke. I proudly voted for her in 2016 for president. And many, many, many more, hundreds of thousands, if not more, millions of people voted for her than we were, fed, than we were told by the official story fed to us, the official narrative, that Gary, whatever, the libertarian guy, who I thought he was pretty cool too, even though I'm not a libertarian. I'm not into that. I was many years ago, briefly. Gary got 4% of the vote. So did he take votes away from Trump? Jill Stein got 1% of the vote, and she hurt Hillary. I really believe Jill Stein got 5% of the vote at least. She could have been on the debate stage, but they wouldn't let her be there. During one of the debates, they handcuffed her to a chair. I don't know, man. This stuff is so unreal, it's surreal. Anyway, she spoke, and I got teary-eyed because I thought what world might be different if she had been president. There's no chance it's going to let it happen, but in my heart, she was my president, and I remain loyal to her. Jimmy Dore, of course, spoke, and he started off with a lot of jokes about the current situation and using analogies about where all our money is going to Ukraine and this war and what it could be used for. And after a while, I felt like the joke setup, that's something he could definitely do in his stand-up or on his show. But really what people want to hear from him is what he's becoming most famous for. It's fiery, righteously indignant invectives. And when he went that direction, it was hot. It was powerful. Now the sound through the feed. I watched Savvy Sab's feed for, like I said, 3 or 4 hours on and off. And it continued for another 5 hours, I think 4 or 5 hours that I haven't watched yet. Um, she, it wasn't so much her feed, it was the sound of whatever it was. Some people said the internet reception was messed up. Some people said the speakers were having some kind of interference. Some people, like I said, blamed it on how it was coming through on live feeds. But, of course, a lot of people were like, someone's doing this on purpose, they're drowning them out. And I mean, of course, they probably were. I mean, come on, a couple miles from the White House, and they're saying this stuff, loudly in front of 300 to 3,000 people, depending on how you look at it, who you listen to. I mean, yeah, they're not going to want that. I mean, they're not going to blatantly interrupt it and like bust heads because it'll draw too much attention because of the people who were there today and spoke. And let me get on with that. So, there, Jackson Hinkle, who I used to be a big supporter and fan of. I still like Jackson. I still respect him. I think there's certain directions he's taken that I don't agree with, but I think people on the left are way too hard on him. He's young. He's kind of naive. He's still learning. He's definitely a communist, though. He definitely is against the grain. He has been censored on Twitter and YouTube, permanently demonetized. Speaking out, he's anti-war. He's pro-Putin. I mean, I don't care what y'all think about Putin one way or another, but that's pretty ballsy to be a public commentator and be pro-Putin right now. I mean, that's courting death, really. And so I don't think he's a grifter. I don't think he's a phony. I think he can be glib and narcissistic, and opportunistic, and sometimes leaning right on certain social issues. But because of his presence there, some of the other people who are important leftist voices, like Medea Benjamin, who's the other one who pulled out? Well, Medea Benjamin chose not to speak. Code Pink made her withdraw. Code Pink I respected a lot as an anti-war movement until today. And they let this kind of stuff get in their way. And that's what a lot of people were speaking out against. Of course, Jackson mentioned it. But he didn't linger on that. He didn't linger on the ego stuff. I thought he would, but no, he talked a lot about people in Ukraine dying. He talked a lot about violence and gore and blood being visited upon the Ukrainian people and the ethnic Russians, by Ukrainian Nazis, and by NATO forces, pushing them into this war with Russia. And he was right. I mean, we need to come together on this shit that's true and real. I mean, that's, Tulsi Gabbard, man, she broke my heart, man, but seeing her there was great. And not many people applauded for her, a lot of people are bitter towards her. But I think I understand Tulsi somewhat, as much as someone like me can understand a politician, because face it, they're another reality. But people need to be more alert and critical thinkers. They need to be more nuanced and see the valences of this. Tulsi's tried to do a lot of good for this world. I mean, yes, she has been opportunistic. She has been right wing on certain subjects. She has been, out of favor on a lot of things with me and with other people who on things that I don't care how she feels about or agree with her about. But a lot of liberals and leftists don't. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things about Tulsi I don't like. I was blinded by her light. She's a powerful woman. Of course, she's gorgeous. No one wants to talk about that. Paris forbid a beautiful woman should be president. They've got to be a crone like Hillary, or Liz Warren or something, Sorry, I know there's probably some women watching who are like, you fucking misogynist. No, I mean, seriously, I don't care what they look like. I could care less. But like I said, it's more than just looks. Someone like Jill Stein is 72, and she is beautiful. She radiates this light. Her intellect is razor sharp. And so is Tulsi's. These are intellectual women. They're not dumbasses like Hillary who just say glib, cynical, mean fucking things because they know how this evil, bloody machine works, and they just, are policy wonks and reel that shit off. They never say a goddamn thing that has any insight, any depth, anything that can help the human condition. Nothing. It's all just fucking bullshit. It's all lies and, hate, hate, hate. So no wonder people voted for Trump instead of her. I mean, at least he could crack some funny jokes, intentionally or not, and live in the atmosphere. Hillary came off like a fucking, she was a demagogue during those debates with Bernie Sanders. It was horrible to watch. Horrible to watch the things she said. Very evil people we're talking about who are running this show. The show's it's about to be terminated, prematurely canceled. Not from low ratings, but the audience is going to be wiped off the planet. And the people who brought us this message, they don't give a fuck, even if they go with it. So anyway, Jimmy was good. Scott, I can't think of his name. He's like the main Libertarian Party guy now. He spoke. It was very good. And eventually they had a series of speakers that, were people who had been congressmen. And there were some notable absences, like Cynthia McKinney didn't attend, and some people like that I wish had been there. But Dennis Kucinich spoke. I supported him in 2004 until he dropped another race, primaries for Democrat. And he supported Tulsi in 2020. And Tulsi spoke, and then Ron Paul. I mean, he's like 90 years old. He's the only Republican I've even remotely thought about voting for. I didn't. To me, voting for a Republican is like a bridge too far that I've never stepped upon and never will. I mean, now I'm that way with Democrats, but at least I feel like most, not all, most of the Democrats I voted for, I did in good faith, and I think they were trying to do some good. Now, some of them, no, like Bill Clinton, I deeply regret voting for him in 1992. I should have voted for Ross Perot. Like all my friends and family did, except me. So that was incredible to hear them speak and to lend weight to this event. But yeah, Jimmy, Kim, Jackson, Nick Brana, who was, like I said, head of the movement for the People's Party. He spoke intermittently. A woman named Andrea, I'm not familiar with her. She introduced a lot of people. There was like a little a little bus, like a little vehicle, like a car that was red, and it kept buzzing around back and forth occasionally. And it was a Free Julian Assange thing. It was piloted by Comrade Misty, aka Misty. I always forget her, Misty Winston. Another beautiful woman, but beautiful in so many ways, and just so brilliant. And she's been such a passionate defender for Julian. And she was driving around. It was like kind of like the Hal Philip Walker vehicle driving around throughout Nashville. Stuff like that made my heart melt, man. It's like it makes me sad. There's no left in it. There are no real left wing in America because it could be such a joyous, incredible, constructive entity. Force of good for the world. So anyway, I don't know how my sound's going out. I know I'm kind of trailing off here a few times, getting all kind of emotional and shit. But this is just me kind of in an unguarded moment. I'll wrap it up real quick. So the ones I missed, like I said, Savvy broadcasted all this. There were other important people who did speak. Some I was not that familiar with, and some I was. This guy, I can't think of his name. He was a journalist, and he was in Ukraine recently, and some people who were affiliated with intelligence, like CIA and with NATO, he was about to go into his hotel where he was going to stay, and they blew it up. Razed it to RAZE, razed it to the ground. He barely got away from it. He told about all this, and he told the truth about the Nazis in the Ukraine and the tortures they've been visiting upon ethnic Russians, minority Ukrainians who don't fit their, genetic litmus test for 8 fucking years. Zelensky is a madman. I mean, he thinks he's like a funny buffoon and who's now become world famous and haha, and now I'm just so rich and whatever. Everybody loves me. I'm a hero. But any minute somebody's going to waste him, whether it's the Nazis or the CIA or FBI or somebody's going to have him killed. He's a useful idiot, useful for now. He's riding the wave, though. I think he's one of the most corrupt people I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, he is probably one of the sleaziest humans that crawls upon this planet. I can't imagine a guy who would sell out his own people. He gets a chance to govern this place from a place where he was against the Nazis originally. He was a comedian. He was a media guy. I mean, he was supposedly left wing. And then here's what he does. He's like, we're going to sacrifice every Ukrainian male over 16. We're just going to grind them into the fucking wood chipper, the meat grinder. So they're all dead. He doesn't care. He's up there laughing on the cover of Vanity Fair magazine with his fucking wife, bathing in money that should have gone to Americans. And it's disgusting. Ukraine has been for a long time the most corrupt country in Europe, one of the most corrupt countries on the planet. And man, you talk about corruption. This guy, people like him and Biden and Justin Trudeau, who showed his true colors during the convoy, debacle in Canada. They're lunatics, man. They're lunatics. They want to kill all of us. All right, I've digressed again. So I heard part of Ron Paul's later. I liked it. Then Roger Waters spoke. I don't know if it was live. He was on a live feed or if he had recorded something. But he was on a big screen that they had been showing various cut up news things. Like they showed one thing one guy made that was clips of the news talking, each time more money would be approved to go to the Ukraine, like 3 million more, 2 billion more, 10 billion more to the Ukraine. And then he would intercut it with, thousands of homeless people dying, people living under every bridge, no solution. And, so he was juxtaposing these. And, Jimmy Dore talks about that a lot, as, that money could have ended homelessness, ended it. We could end poverty in America with the money we're giving to the fucking Ukraine. I don't hate the Ukrainian people. I do hate their government. And that doesn't mean that I, like Jackson, am pro-Putin. But I'm not anti-Putin either. I don't see things that black and white. I just don't. I mean, and why? Because I've done the research. I mean, Putin tried for 8 years through the Minsk Accords and all these other things of diplomacy to get NATO to back off from Ukraine and not have a country bordering Russia that used to be a part of Russia for I don't know how many hundreds of years. That stuff was part of the whole thing. They're ethnic Russians all through Ukraine. Ukraine is a split country. It's not all a monolith. There are plenty of people there who support Russia, who are against the Nazis. A lot of them, their friends and family were murdered by them over the last 8 years by this puppet regime that was put in place by Barack Obama and Joe Biden and intelligence forces. They committed a coup. They knocked that guy out. I forgot his name right off the top of my head. They put in another guy, and then the time they got Zelensky, because that's like putting a friendlier face on fascism. And Zelensky actually, I'm gonna do the right thing. But he didn't. He didn't do the right thing. He succumbed to NATO. He succumbed to the desire for power and attention and celebrity and money. But anyway, so Roger Waters spoke. I haven't watched his thing yet. Saw kind of glimpses. That's a big name, man. A lot of people hate him now. David Gilmour's insane wife, Polly Sampson, went after him on Twitter hardcore. Smear machine. That's the other thing they do to you that I didn't mention earlier. I said the media ignores you, or they, mischaracterize you, whatever. Or they smear you. They just outright smear you. They make up negative shit about you. to ruin your reputation. And it spreads like wildfire through social media and through the mainstream media. And, they did to Tulsi Gabbard during the election. They destroyed her. Whether she was real or not, whether she let us down or not, that's not important, really. What is important is that she was saying things that were distinctly against the American uh, military industrial complex and the establishment was holding people back. And they shut her out of the debates, they censored her, they lied about her endlessly. Why did they do that if she was a phony? If she was totally a phony, they should have been enjoying it. But they visited wrath upon her. Now, Bernie, they stopped visiting wrath upon. A lot of the people who support Bernie, who still support Bernie, are the same people who gave me a hard time about liking Bernie instead of Hillary in 2016. Now they're all into Bernie. Like, why don't you like Bernie, man? Bernie, come on. I'm like, did you vote for Bernie in the primary? Did you vote for fucking Hillary in the election? I mean, come on, man. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear these Johnny come latelys who sneered at me and harassed me on social media, gaslighted me. These people are insane. They tell you to go kill yourself. Go kill yourself. You're no use to America. So these people today dared to speak against the empire. That's the bottom fucking line. Now, other people that are notable that I think spoke, I'll think about that. But another who didn't show up, who I think was kind of driven away, who was a major speaker, was Scott Ritter, who worked in the government many years, and he ended up opposing the mainstream because of the Iraq War. Now, he also did some work with Trump and got close to Trump. And okay, so that automatically obliterates his reputation in a liberal's eyes, but not in mine. He gave insight into things that were good and bad about Trump, as far as the way Trump was positioned to either help or hinder the establishment machine. But he should have been there. His reporting has been invaluable on all these channels. He's a peer. He'll talk anywhere. These aren't people who like screen you like AOC. Oh, we don't go on these channels. Oh, or Bernie, who like, I'll go on Breaking Points, but I won't talk to Kyle. He called me a cuck. I got to screen it. And then he talks to Crystal, and he's like, you don't know anything about what Biden's thinking. And this is the same guy that I voted for twice in primaries. The only reason I voted for him the second time was, I used the prevailing logic that he had a better chance of winning the primary than Tulsi. So I voted for him. I donated more and canvassed for Tulsi. I didn't donate. I donated $5 to Bernie the second time around. I didn't canvass for him at all. First time, I think I gave him a total of $25, and I canvassed for him heavily. And wow, I mean, it's insane how much hate, how many enemies I made out of people on social media. I'm not some celebrity or famous person. How did I draw so much ire? It happened to a lot of people I know, a lot of great people. But, I ended up meeting them and befriending them, and now we're allies. A lot of the people in the same situation have started these channels I'm talking about, this independent left media scene, and it's amazing. And so I wish I could give you the whole lineup. I should have written it down or whatever, and I'll do it in the next video. I'll talk about who definitely spoke. I'll watch all the stuff and report more. This is really just my reaction to what's happening, what happened today, why it happened, why this was put together and organized. I don't know why it kind of failed as far as attendance. I mean, I know it was going to have a media blackout, mainstream media blackout. That's without question. And a lot of people watched the live feeds, thousands of people, but I don't know why more people didn't attend. I mean, I do think one reason is what a lot of people said in the chats of live feed. We're broke, man. We couldn't afford to travel to Washington, I mean, some of the people who run these channels couldn't afford to go. I mean, I think Savvy's the only one who went for Revolutionary Blackout Network. And somebody like Nick Cruz of Revolutionary Blackout Network, he's one of my favorites. And he would have given a powerful, riveting speech about this stuff. And I don't know, you know, I don't know how it's all going to shake out. I haven't watched any other reaction videos. I just came home from work, so that's what I have to say about it for today. So I hope you guys will check it out. If I can find a link that's still valid, that'll be the whole feed replayed. I'll like Savvy's or some, if not her, somebody that I can find. I'll put it below. Maybe not when I first post the video, but when I get it. So I'm not going to do like a big intro with music in the beginning and title credits. I'm just going to put this up, as soon as I can. I'll try to do it tonight. I got to eat dinner. It's getting late. Well, it's midnight, but anyway, I'm off work for a couple of days, but I got to work on my eBay. And tomorrow's President's Day, so federal holiday. Can't go to the bank, can't go to the post office. And what a weird, what a weird synchronicity, or not, as far as when this happened, the day before President's Day. So, for better or worse, to the delight or dismay of any of my subscribers, all, or any potential subscribers that are watching this, I will be making more videos along these lines. I've said that quite a lot. I don't know if I'll do a show like I plan to do, but this was an event I needed to commemorate it. I needed to tell people this is what happened. This is why it happened. This is the situation that led us to make this kind of thing happen. I mean, us, as in I supported it, but I didn't help organize it. I didn't give it any money or anything. So I can't really claim any credit. But I spiritually supported it. I'm behind it. I spread the word on it somewhat, and especially on the Jimmy Dore fans group that I'm moderator on. Hadn't got much traction anywhere really on Facebook and where I am at. But YouTube, I know there's going to be a lot of stuff. So I'm going to weed through it tonight and tomorrow, mostly tomorrow. So anyway, I'm sorry if I forgot some incredible speakers, but Chris Hedges, Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore, Jackson Hinkle, Dr. Jill Stein, Ron Paul, Tutsi Gabbard, Dennis Kucinich, Roger Waters, the other people's names I can't remember that were incredible because my brain's blanking out. Craig Pasta Jardullo. That's the guy that spoke not long before the Congress people. And he is the co-host of the Convo Couch with Fiorella Isabel. They are fierce, incredible journalists. They monitor elections in the global south. I mean, they use what little money they have to travel around. Fiorella moved to Moscow to be like an embedded reporter there for quite a while. She might still be there, but I think she's coming back or has come back recently. But yeah, she moved there and she wanted to give people the Russian side of it. What's really going on in Russia, what people in Russia really think about all this, what kind of people they are. But Craig talked. His stuff was powerful. He's another guy who uses humor a lot like Jimmy does. He's kind of a jolly, funny guy. I think he's a little bit old. Jimmy Dore is my age, but I'm giving away my age. But Craig, I think, is a couple years older. He says he's a boomer, so he's like at the very end of boomers. He's a great guy. He's somebody I'd love to meet and talk to. He's a left-wing civil libertarian, kind of like Glenn Greenwald. I wish Glenn Greenwald had spoken. Oh, Max Blumenthal spoke. The Gray Zone. Oh, I forgot the most incredible speaker. The most riveting one. The one the people in the chat were just stunned by. Anya Parampil, I think is her last name. I'm not sure I'm saying it right. Anyapaarampil. She is a journalist correspondent for the Gray Zone too, site with Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate. And I think her and Max Blumenthal are like a couple. I don't know if they're married or whatever. I've always thought, again, another beautiful woman, but always loved her appearances on other shows. She's been a guest on Jimmy Dore's show a lot. She's appeared on a lot of different shows, and her work is incredible. She owned that fucking stage, man. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know who she was. Were like, oh my God. she really laid bare how fucked up our country is, and how vile our leadership is, and how horrible things are, and what we're up against. And she said, you know, we need to get together. We need to put aside our differences, fucking fight this thing, you know. And she was passionate and incredibly. I mean, you know, I don't know if she wrote the speech or not. It sounded like she went just talking as she went along. That's not. Maybe that's a naturalism, or maybe she memorized it. But I'm always stunned by people who can just spit out these reams of wise and erudite, you know, uh, uh, lines of communication. I mean, I try to do it. I try to let it happen on this channel. Sometimes it works for a few minutes, but I don't know if I can sustain it. But I have a lot of it in me, but I also have a lot of chaos in this organization. So, you know, I really do need to start writing outlines for all the shit. I think I've written outlines for maybe 3 or 4 episodes, or 3 or 4 shows, ever, you know, episodes ever of anything on this channel. Um, so it's important that I do start doing that to make sure that points that I think are valuable are made. I think I have things to say of value, and people who all my life have told me that the things I say have no value, their word, they have no value to me. So I know who I am. I'm as self-actualized as I can be at this moment in time in my existence, and I've thrown off the shackles of people like my ex-best friend that I allude to a lot, and childhood friends that betrayed me, and my ex-fiance who tried to pigeonhole me and as a certain kind of person, and you know, she was wrong. And now it's like I don't care. What she thinks of me is irrelevant. We could have been great allies. We could have done so much good together. I mean, you know, as a artistic and creative team, not just as a romantic couple. We could have done so much good. We had such great plans, and well, you know, say la vie. So, um, but the thing is, I know who I am now, and every day I learn and see more of myself, and mostly I love myself more and more. But there are things I do dislike. There are things that I'm not happy with, but um, I'm working on it. So I'm gonna go. Thank you for listening. If you're still with me, or if you listen to any of this, love you guys. I hope some other people will watch this than usual. I'm gonna post this on the Jimmy Dore fans group, probably, and some other groups. So take care. No more war. Free Julian Assange. Medicare for all. All right, that's what I got for now.